Hey everybody, welcome to Forgiveness. But they did it again. Now what? I'm Jay, and today we're digging into what actually has to happen inside us to forgive. For real. Not just saying it, but actually shifting something in our heads and hearts. We are talking to my buddy Brendan today.
I'm excited, Jay, and honestly, a little nervous. It's one thing to talk about forgiveness in theory, but when you have to do it, especially, when people hurt you over and over, people you love. But here's the thing, letting go isn't the same as pretending it never happened, or letting someone off the hook. I learned that in counseling, so that has helped me keep things in perspective.
We have all been hurt by others. Sometimes those wounds last for a long time, is how Psychology Today puts this in perspective. They recommend a R.E.A.C.H model of forgiveness. R. Recall the hurt and let the emotions associated with its surface. Do not suppress them. E. Empathize with the offender, trying to understand their reasons for the action without condoning the action or invalidating one's feelings. A. Altruistic gift. Realize that forgiveness is an altruistic gift that can be offered or withheld. And realize also that one has oneself sometimes done wrong and has been forgiven. C. Commit to forgive. To try to replace ill will with goodwill. H. Hold on to the forgiveness, realizing that it takes time for emotions to heal and that sometimes the anger will return.
This is exciting. I would like to unpack this a bit and see if this is something I can use with my family, or is it a myth to appease the offended? You know what I mean?
Not a myth at all, Brendan. The research includes a recent randomized trial, actually, shows that forgiveness is totally different from excusing someone. Like, you don't have to act like what happened was okay or that nobody should be held responsible. And you definitely don't need to become best friends again. Reconciliation isn't required to forgive. In fact, sometimes it's better not to restore a relationship, especially when it's, say, an abusive situation. This is really touchy, I know, when it comes to family and other loved ones because you want to believe they only have good intention toward you. But even with people who love us, their selfish tendencies cause hurt and they lose relationships because of it. This is a sad reality.
That part I think a lot of us forget. Like back home, my family just argues about the same stuff over and over. My siblings ignore each other for months, and I'm always trying to get them to just talk. But forgiveness doesn't mean we pretend nothing happened. Or worse, just hold it all in and let it eat at us. I mean, that never works for anybody.
For sure. Suppressing your hurt, or on the flip side, letting it fester and turning it into this constant background anger, that'll mess with your health. And the data is there to back it up. Forgiveness actually leads to lower depression and anxiety. There's this self-guided workbook and a big study with thousands of people. And Brendan, get this, just doing the exercises over a couple hours had a real effect. Not only did folks feel more forgiving, but their mental health improved. Some even said they felt more hope in their lives. Check it in the Psychology Today article we chatted about and see if it helps improve how you feel about the healing affects of forgiveness. Remember, forgiveness is not for the offender. It is for you, no matter whether they change behavior or not.
I wish I could hand that workbook out at our dinner table, honestly. But yeah, the article talks about the R.E.A.C.H model. this process for working through forgiveness step by step, right? First, you recall the hurt, which, okay, I gotta ask, why would you want to relive it? Not just for punishment, I mean, but like, what's the point?
Good question. You can hand it out at the dinner table. Print out copies and give one to each of your family members. So for the R.E.A.C.H model, you recall to let those emotions surface instead of stuffing them down. Then you empathize. But this one's tricky. It's not about making excuses for the other person. It's about trying to understand their perspective, even if you still feel hurt. Then, altruistic gift. You realize forgiveness is a gift, not an obligation. Commit to letting go of that anger. And finally, you hold on. Because trust me, sometimes the anger comes back and you gotta choose forgiveness again.
I know I sound like a broken record, but that hold on part, that's the hardest. Like, I'll forgive one of my brothers after a fight. Things are chill for a while, but then he says something dumb again, and it all comes back up. So I guess it's not one and done. It's kind of like soccer practice. You don't score one goal and quit. You show up over and over.
Go ahead, boy. Look at you comparing soccer to forgiveness. Forgiveness is definitely ongoing. And what's wild is, this study found that people who did the workbook not only forgave more, but they started to see changes in their happiness, sense of meaning, even their relationships and health. That's why some researchers argue this should be a public health focus. I actually agree. If you think of all the conflict in families, workplaces, even whole communities, if more people forgave, the ripple effect could be huge. This would really shift mental health, I believe, in an upward trajectory.
That makes me think of school too. What if they handed this out, like, instead of detention? I mean, maybe not always, but learning to work through anger in a healthy way, that's a skill. Feels like way more valuable than just grounding someone for a week.
Absolutely. And it's not just about moving on for peace's sake. Sometimes questions pop up. Are there any limits to forgiveness? Like, is it ever not appropriate? The research sort of says as long as you're honest about what happened and how it made you feel, forgiveness is pretty much always possible. And it doesn't mean you have to give up seeking justice. That part's really important, especially if you're using forgiveness in therapy or community work.
Yeah, that stuck out to me too. You can actually forgive and still want a fair outcome. It's not forgive and forget or let people walk all over you. That's huge. Plus, what if the person doesn't say sorry or act like they even think they did something wrong?
You can still forgive, even if they never apologize. That's what frees you from their grip. Sometimes, even expressing regret for someone else's pain, even if you don't agree with their take, is healing for both sides. But I've found that's easier said than done. I am always sure to make sure my offender is clear on what I feel the wrongdoing is so they can clear up if it was deliberate or a misunderstanding. I will respond to someone who may approach me this way by saying, I am sorry I made you feel that way, but it was not my intention. To start with, so I also hope to at least hear that from my family and friends. When they don't respond or try to apologize in any way, I find it hard to forgive.
Same. And okay, this is kind of deep, but the article ends up talking about love. Like, What if forgiveness could shift not just how we feel about one person, but about our whole family and possibly communities we are tied to?
We need more of that, Brendan. Not just tolerating each other, but actually working toward understanding and maybe even loving people we barely get along with. It's not easy, but if we start seeing forgiveness as a choice we make for our own freedom and our own happiness, not just for the other person, we're halfway there. And honestly, couldn't our world use a little more of that?
Yeah, and if all it takes is giving a little goodwill, maybe practicing that on my next sibling, I'm willing to try, at least, until the next argument. Jay, this was actually helpful talking through the real steps and what this looks like in life. I liked this.
Well, good for you, kid. And to everyone listening, maybe just try one piece of this reach model this week. It might not fix everything overnight, but it's a start. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Hey, kid, say goodbye.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm Brendan Taylor Lee, signing off.
I'm Jay. See you on the next episode.